So I'd like to call the BUHS 6 board meeting to order at 6:32. And since this is a reorganizational meeting, I'd like to take nominations for the election of the board chair.
I move, Mr. Moderator, I move that the board chair be Mr. Richard Davidson.
Second.
Nomination second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Mr. Davidson as the board chair, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Davidson.
Thank you very much. All right, so thank you all very much. Next is we need a nomination for the election of a board vice chair. Yes.
I nominate Bob Woodward.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, and then we need a nomination for a board clerk.
I nominate Ruth Barton for board clerk.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second to that? All right. Any other nominations for board clerk? All right. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And we'll just assume that she will accept upon her arrival. The next thing is we need to nominate 3 voting members to the WSESU board, and currently those folks are Ruth, Russ, and Ann. Yes, and then with Bob being the alternate. The list that came, just real quick, the list that came out with the agenda and everything else, I asked Barb to send a copy of the list, and Pat's name was crossed out of places and Ann's name wasn't added. But Ann had said back when she came on board that she would just step into wherever Pat had been. So Ruth, Russ, and Ann are our current voting members, and we need to elect 3 others, or 3 people.
I would move the slate, 3 folks.
Ruth, Russ, and Ann.
Yep.
All right, with Bob being an alternate.
I'll do that. I'll add that one.
Okay. All right. All right. So is that a second, Russ?
Oh, sure.
All right. So moved and seconded. Is there any other nominations for voting members to WSCSU board? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great. And then we're going to handle the committee stuff at the end of our regular meeting, but the last thing we'll do real quick right now is establishing a days and times of our meetings. Historically, we've always met the first and third Monday of the month, unless it falls on a school holiday or vacation, and then we find an alternative that works for the most people at 7 p.m. generally. Does that still work for everybody? And do we want to move it around or anything? All right. So is there a motion to?
I'm just getting to know the schedule.
Yeah, don't make any changes yet now, huh? All right. So does somebody want to make a motion to that?
I move we keep our current set schedule of the first and third Mondays of each month at 7 o'clock, barring other incidental circumstances.
All right. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Take care of that. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into executive session for a student matter, and we're going to move into the conference room for that. And we need middle school administration, and the superintendent is joining us. So everybody else is free to take a few minute break. So we're going to executive session at
6:37.
At 6:37. Excellent. Thank you. So we have just come out of executive session for a student matter. Before we move on with the rest of the meeting, is there a motion?
I move that we accept the administration's recommendation
On the student matter.
on the student matter.
Seconded by Sean. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained?
I abstain, I did not attend.
Excellent, thank you. All right. So the next thing that's on our agenda list that was just before student hearings, but I didn't want to get into too much, was new committees. We're going to talk more about committees after the meeting, just have quick committee meetings to elect new chairs of committees. But everyone got this as an attachment, yes? So they saw what committees they were currently on. And I would say just between now and the end of tonight's meeting, think about whether or not you want to stay where you are, if you want to do something different, and we can do those rearrangements later on. So let's go ahead and move into the clerk's report. And is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 6th?
I move approval of the minutes of March 6th.
Second.
Seconded, moved and seconded. Any additions, deletions, corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Abstain.
Max abstain. Four
Wasn't here.
absent.
Actually, I wasn't at that meeting either, so I'll
Okay,
abstain.
so
I was
Russ
out of
and
town.
Michael abstaining for absenteeism. Okay. All right. Is there any other communications that board members have? Seeing none, we'll move on. And we don't have any groups, individual visitors here, so we can move to consent agenda. Is there a motion to enter consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. And let's start with finance, building, and transportation.
We've not met since the last meeting, have we?
Our last meeting was just after the last board meeting, and our next meeting will be just after this board meeting. No, just before the last board meeting and just after.
Okay.
So we have not met. We will be meeting on the 23rd, which should be this Thursday, at 8 o'clock at central office.
Excellent. All right, WSCSU finance.
I was out of town for that one as well. We met this past Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, I can.
And Woody, you were there, so if you want to report
Yeah,
on that.
I can make some comments. Yes, the meeting was held on March 16th, and where warrants were approved, as were payrolls, and I don't know if there was American Express wire approval. It was on the agenda, but if it was there, I'm sure it was approved. And then there was an executive session, and as a result of that, there was a contract approval for the new superintendent for 2 years, for the business director, Frank, for 3 years, and a separation agreement for the current superintendent. And we briefly touched on negotiations, which will be coming up for everyone in the state, but nothing substantive was passed or discussed at that meeting regarding negotiations. I think that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you. Planning and policy.
Neither planning and policy nor teacher curriculum committee had met.
Okay. BAMS committee.
The BAMS committee has not met.
All right. WRCC.
We did meet.
Yes, we did. You want me to?
Really? You said you were gonna tell them.
Okay. We met on the 16th, same as the SESU Finance Day, but in the morning. And the primary purpose was to review House Bill number 455, which is a career and tech education legislative proposal that is, I believe, I don't know whether did it make crossover?
Parts of it did.
Parts of it did? Okay. This was, last Friday, I believe, was crossover in the House, which means that if a bill isn't taken up and passed along by then, it usually dies on the wall, so to speak. But according to Michael, parts of it were passed, but we discussed that and expressed our support for most of the content of that bill. We also approved 2 1% requests for curriculum for 2 of the newer teachers for some design changes in curriculum. And that's the main substance of that meeting.
Thank you. WSCSU Act 46 Study Committee has not met since our last meeting. We have a meeting this coming Thursday at 6 o'clock in Putnam. So, and hopefully then we will have some information as to next steps. Is there anything else for consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
So move.
All right, Russ, one second. Russ, second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right. So let's move to administrative reports. Why don't we start down at the far end, the Career Center.
All right, thanks, Ricky. So a few things happening at the Career Center. First one, Future Business Leaders of America will be attending their state leadership conference in Lake Maury. They left today from school at about 2:30, and they will be competing against other CTE members and students from across the state at Lake Maury until Wednesday. I will be actually going up on Wednesday to support them and watch them receive some awards. And it's always a great time to see the students shine and be really proud of their accomplishments. So I look forward to that, and good luck to all the students as well. And their advisor, Mary Beth Cornell, does an awesome job every year with the students. So those students are Melanie Dow, Matt Domain, Megan Forret, Sarah Gothier, Allison Harney, Keegan Jameson, Lisa Joy, Theo Moore, Josh Nordham, Victoria Packard, Rachel Parker, Colton Ravina, Emily Ricker, Frida Rosner, Ethan Waterman, and Olivia Sheriff. So good luck to all those students. In forestry, they are beginning their game of logging, industry recognized credential work. And this is held in the Pleasant Valley watershed out in West Brattleboro. For those of you that don't know, our forestry class gets out there every spring, and they learn tree felling and they cut down these trees for the town. And it's a great off-site area for the kids to get this real-world experience for forestry. The game of logging is widely acknowledged as the premier chainsaw safety and productivity training program in the country, offering hands-on chainsaw safety training in a competitive environment. Top instructors across the country combine demonstration with participation to teach chainsaw safety, productivity, conservation, and cutting techniques. And the students walk away with a 4-part IRC that is well known across the country if they are attending or in the forestry fields. So it's a pretty impressive certification process for the kids. Skills USA students will be also participating in the state competition in April 4th and 5th in Burlington, Vermont this year, and they'll be honing their skills in all trade areas of construction and law enforcement. We have students going up, engineering students also competing. So I don't have the list of names, but I will after the competition to share with those students. Good luck to them as well. Tomorrow we'll be having our regional advisory board meeting here in the Cusick, beginning at 11:30. It was scheduled for last Tuesday, but Storm had other ideas for us, so we did not meet. So I'm looking forward to meeting with our constituents. And that's all I have.
Mike, are you gonna do the tree and plant sale this year? Speaking of forestry.
Yes, that will be held in a warehouse space at the TIC building.
Do you know when that, do you have any dates? It's not that.
It's the end of this month.
Okay.
No, I'll take that back. Somewhere in April.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
I don't know if they've confirmed it yet.
Yeah, I usually see it in the paper.
Yeah.
And what is it again?
Sometime in April.
Tree sale?
Yeah, they sell all kinds of hardwood trees, softwood trees, different plants.
Yeah, it's through another organization in town. They use our space.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Let's move up to BUHS.
Good evening, everyone. A couple reports from the art and the music department. For the music department, senior clarinetist Elijah Taylor and junior tuba player Jackson Levengood performed in the New England Music Festival Band in Norwalk, Connecticut last weekend. They were selected for doing an outstanding job in their audition in December. The BUHS band will present their early spring concert tomorrow at 7 o'clock. So it will feature the band and jazz bands. Also, the band will be traveling to South Burlington the following Tuesday, March 28th, to take part in the Vermont Music Educators Association Band Festival, where they'll be evaluated and rated by a panel of 3 college band directors. And finally, the chorus will present their early spring concert on Thursday, March 30th, 7 o'clock in the auditorium. It'll feature chorus and the madrigals, so band very busy. In art, we are happy to announce that Frisia Cappy Goldfarb won a Silver Key Award national competition in the Scholastic Art Competition. Frisia had won a gold key in the regional judging, allowing her to go to the national competition. This award can include a $1,000 scholarship applied to the school of her choice. And while we've had a couple students reaching national judging, Frisia is the first student at BUHS to be recognized for national honors. So she did a great job. Also, we won 57 awards in the regional judging that was exhibited at the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center. Student Art Month is in progress. Check out the work in the River Garden and Vermont Artisans, and also in the NPR. And then tomorrow we'll begin hiring for Kevin's replacement for the math. So we'll start interviews tomorrow. Thank you, Ruth, for joining us. And also next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be doing SBAC testing for the juniors. So that's a big one coming up. And Steve is recovering well, so.
Excellent. Yes, Sean.
I would just like to say, this time of year, we always think of the Eames Scholarship. And it's any student that's interested in any kind of art can apply for that. And it's quite a lucrative scholarship. And it lasts for 3 years. And since the stock market did well last year, it'd be the time to jump on it. So
Okay.
any student that has any, it could even be, it could be architecture, it could be dance, it could be anything to do with the arts.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful thing that this community has available to it, the students.
Okay.
So,
I'll remind the art department.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a little bit underutilized, unfortunately. So I really encourage people like the individual that you mentioned that,
Right.
she
Great. Thanks, Sean.
Excellent.
That's all I
All
have.
right, excellent, thank you. All right, BAMS.
Hi, everyone. All right, I want to start with our winter concert, which was last week. Was it last week? It was really outstanding. Middle school, 7th and 8th grade concert bands, 7th and 8th grade chorus, and the jazz band all performed, and they didn't miss a beat. Really did a nice job. Riley Goodmote and Patty Meyer. Really want to credit them for preparing the students. It was a great concert. We had a performance for the students and staff during the day, and then a concert that night. We also had our parent nights last week in Vernon, so we go to the Vernon school and invite the 6th grade parents. It wasn't as well attended this year, but I think it was snowed out. It was the 3rd reschedule. But we like to go there and offer them information about the school, and then we have a big parent night for all incoming 6th graders on April 6th here at BAMS. Last week there was a BEAMS site visit here, so you saw the presentation last week, or last meeting by Kate Burt, and then she was also preparing for that visit by 3 people from the state. They interviewed a lot of people, and I think I haven't got a report yet, but I have a feeling they were pretty impressed with what we're doing. So I'm very happy, and Kate Burt really had us well prepared for all of that. We also have interviews this week for social studies, and Mike, I believe you're going to serve on that committee, right? So that's Wednesday, and hopefully we had we have about 50 applicants so far for that position, so it's good. A lot of resumes to read. We have early release coming up next, the 27th, and then again a full day, well, 24th is an early release, and that day we'll be doing the SBAC, the Smarter Balanced assessment. We're going to do some prep for that. We have a couple staff members who spent a week out in Minneapolis preparing how to use the interim assessment part of the software. And so they're going to work teaching the rest of the staff on how to utilize that a little better. And I'm excited about that because I've had some training in that. And it gives us a lot of great data. Monday, the 27th, would be a full day working with the Tarrant folks on proficiency-based learning and really starting to dive into that at the middle school level. High school has done a lot of work on that, and we're going to start really diving headfirst into it. And last but not least, moving up the 30th of March is open house for the exploratory program. It's a nice night where the music, art, PE, all of those departments, world language, they all put together a little open house, and we invite all the incoming 6th grade families and our current middle schoolers to come and visit and see what's going on in those classes. So it was interesting when we do an open house for the core classes in the fall, and then we do this one for exploratories in the spring. So keeps parents coming in. That's all I have, unless there's any questions. Thanks.
Okay. So central office.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Betsy Gentili's retirement was approved, but I just want to confirm. I don't think it came to the board meeting, board level. So I'm just submitting this to, for your consideration and approval, that Betsy Gentili, the adult ed coordinator for the Career Center, is retiring after 10 years of service.
Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the resignation, retirement of Betsy Gentili with regret.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or good? Sit there. That's it for you, sir. Okay, I didn't have anything for the board chair. So moving into unfinished business, we're going to get a little overview from Ron about the Asian Studies program.
You take one and pass it on. I'm going to give you 2 documents. Maybe I should wait for the second one.
Michael.
You're talking about the SBACs? Okay. I want to talk to you about it later.
It's my favorite acronym.
Well, I just went to the website. Not many states in the United States use it. It's like 10 out of the 50.
I thought it was half.
Yeah.
Well, you can use either, most of them have adopted the Common Core, but there's 2 programs to assess it. There's PARC, P-A-R-C, and SBAC. So each state decides which, and they enter into contract with those vendors.
Yeah, this says member states.
So if you look at the PARC, a lot of the other states use PARC.
I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to find out.
All right. So right now we're going to learn about the Asian Studies program.
Yeah, I've been asked to do an overview of the Asian Studies program. Steve Perrin would be joining me with this, but obviously he's on leave right now. This document, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but as you can see from the CC, this was provided to the Finance Committee back in October of 2016. I know it was on the BUHS Finance agenda for July 21st, probably when the warrants came through with costs associated with the trip and that sort of thing. But at this time in October, we were asked to give more of a detailed account of the program. So, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you can see since 2004, we've had a very strong Asian Studies program, primarily supported by the Freeman Foundation. We've had a number of students travel to China with teachers, the Asian American Cultural Exchange Program, or ACE. That's been very successful in terms of having our students travel to China. We have not done that for a while. Part of it is the reduction in the grant. We knew going into this that the Freeman Foundation will typically grant for about a 10-year period, and with declining support, with the idea that the host school will start adding it to their local budget, which we have done. The Freeman Foundation has been very generous to continue this support beyond 10 years, and that's very unusual. There's probably been 3 grants in Vermont during our period of time, and none of them have exceeded 10 years. So the fact that they're continuing to support us is very, very great to support our students. One of the things that we did with this trip in April, which included myself, Steve Perrin, Lyle Holliday, and our coordinator, Mary Green, we felt last April it was really important to reconnect to some of the schools and districts in China. They really feel like they want to see people that can make things happen. And so I think I've been to China probably 9 times between when I was at Leland and Gray and in this district. But it's amazing the connections that you make, the relationships that you develop, and the fact that we hadn't really done a student exchange since 2011. Our interest was really to get Chinese students over here with the idea that our students would travel back to China or start traveling back to China, probably short-term stays and then possibly for a semester or longer. So they really want to see people that, I was really interested in having Lyle Holliday come because I suspected that she was, probably going to be in a leadership role after I retired. And I wanted her to have some firsthand knowledge of the people that we're dealing with in China. So in April, we signed a memorandum of agreements or understanding with 4 schools. I think we visited 10 schools in a week-long period, so it was pretty intense in terms of the travel because it was from Beijing to the southeast part of China in Kunming, and then from there we went to Xi'an and Inner Mongolia. So it was a pretty big loop. One of the things I just want to mention in terms of the Freeman Foundation, this was from last year, and you can see at the bottom paragraph, over the past 10 years, or since 2004, they have supported us with $2.1 million of grant funding. When you see the next document, it actually has gone up to 2.2 million. We can talk a little bit about that. So with that, you can see also our local support, which is budgeted money and in-kind calculations of close to 1.3 million. And when it says the 2 supervisory unions, Wyndham Southwest was part of our grant initially, but they kind of backed out probably 5 or 6 years ago. So really the bulk of that is the support through our BUHS budget and also the district, the SU budget as well. And that funds primarily 2 full-time teaching positions and then language instruction, not only here at the high school and BAMS, but also in the elementary schools as well, and then cultural activities. On the back side, you can see we estimate that an additional 4,500 students have been reached through all school assemblies, music residency, diversity program, and I'm not sure if I missed, the last sentence of the first page. From the 13 schools that are affected by the program, 8,000 students over the past 10 years have been benefited from that program. And then the last document on this packet is just a invitation to one of our schools in Mongolia, Art College. We just wanted to show you what we're planning in terms of short stay visits initially. We have those planned with 4 schools. This is one of them. They have actually made a commitment to come July 9th through 15th. There'll be 15 students and 5 adults, so about 20 people. We will be talking pretty shortly about homestay families, people that would be willing to have a student or two stay with them in their home for this period of time. That will reduce their costs in terms of the trip. And what we really believe is, once students start coming over to our district, they will be very much interested in coming here for either a semester or typically a full year. Part of our plan is to visit Marlboro College during this week. Marlboro College has a great Asian Studies program, and what we would love to do is be able to offer Chinese high school students a year at our school with some college credit, and then a second year at Marlboro College as an enrolled college student. We unfortunately cannot keep a student more than 1 year, which is really too bad, because we've had students come here and they want to stay for 4 years. It's just because of the visa setup, it doesn't work. If we were a private school, we could, but because we're not, we can't. And so we want to be creative with a place like Marlboro College to be able to get a 2-year experience for these students. And once they're enrolled in a college, they have a different visa and they could stay. So I think that would be really a great program for those students. Again, we hope that our students are able to take short trips and maybe longer. One of the things that we feel is very important about these trips that I'm involved with is to make these connections and then have the follow-through, where we will have students coming to this district and, adding to our tuition, probably about $23,000 to $24,000 per student. And that's happened in the past. It did not happen this school year, but we feel pretty confident that with this short stay with some of these schools, that there will be a number of students that want to continue in the future. So that's our plan. If you have questions about this before I get on to anything else?
Have you made contact with them since, Ron?
What's that?
Well, I'm
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at the second paragraph, and it says, international relationships require face-to-face meetings, out of sight, out of mind. But, I mean, today we could employ modern technology, and you could FaceTime, with those people that you met to reinforce your previous meeting.
Yeah. I mean, this is from a result of the trip. We've had several communications with them pinning down the dates, and we don't feel like we need to communicate that way other than through email. And, so we know at least this school is committed to coming, and there's probably 2 or 3 others that are planning to do the same. As far as the initial connections with those schools, I don't see that. I don't see FaceTime or that type of, broadcasting as something that is going to be as effective as
I thought, but after the initial meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this could reinforce.
Yeah. To tell you the truth, the best thing is, once they get a student over here, they will send a delegation. They'll send a comparable group to visit our district, and I've invited them anyway, and once they come over, that really helps these cooperative agreements continue. Sean, you had?
Well, I was just wondering, I don't really have in my mind the numbers in the last 3 years. There was no student here last year from China, is that right?
This current year.
This current
There
year?
was previously, yeah.
And that was one individual?
What's that?
How many individuals? Is it?
One last year, and there were actually 2 the year before.
Yeah, I asked Steve about it, and he spoke about the visa
Yeah.
aspect, the difference between public school, private school. In a public school, they can get a visa for 3 years, but in a private school, 3 years, in a public school, just 1 year.
Yeah.
So it makes it more difficult, there's no question about that. And I spoke with Steve prior to the election, and he was hopeful, so he's probably
Yeah.
not quite as hopeful now.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the short stay will prove to be very successful, and hopefully that will continue, and I hope nothing that our government would do that would jeopardize that.
So they're coming in July.
Yeah,
Could we have a follow-up on,
Sure.
goals, outcomes,
absolutely.
at the next board meeting?
After their visit.
After their meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I just have to make sure Steve is ready to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just sending you the grant application for this current year. We just sent this out, and you can just take a look at this at your leisure. It gives you a little bit more detailed background about the programming. But again, as I mentioned, when you add last year to this year, it now becomes 2.4 million plus. And our in-kind is 1.4 million. And then it just gives you a breakdown of the programming and some of the information plans for academic year 2017-18.
Where, the grant request amount is in here somewhere?
I believe the year before was 80,000, and this year it'll be 60,000, because they are definitely increasing the grant funding. And, we've been preparing for that, and when we prepare our budgets, our local budgets, we know, okay, so the teacher salary, benefits, and that sort of thing, which was supported by 50%, 8 to 10 years ago, is now supported, the salaries and benefits are primarily supported by us now.
So, and part of these funds, as you mentioned, go to 2 full-time teachers at BUHS and BAMS?
BUHS and BAMS, and
Yeah.
the BAMS person also teaches in some of the other districts. And actually, I think the high school teacher does a little bit in after-school programming.
And that would be specifically the option for the students to get a Chinese language experience.
Yep. So I will, if the minutes reflect the fact that after the July trip that we'd like to have a report, that would be helpful too, and I'll talk to Steve about that as well.
And then what happens after that? I mean, it's a possibility that there would be a student in
We would
the
hope.
subsequent year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Again, there's three other schools that we've been working with. I don't have dates for their visits yet, but my sense is that, our hope is that we'll have a number of students that continue to want to come here. And we can support that.
Great. Any other questions? Great, thank you very much. Awesome. So moving on to new business, there's the VSBA Code of Ethics. Do you have that?
I don't have that.
It's on our agenda. But
Yeah, I know. Let me just see. It is a good document that we should have, everybody have a copy of, and I don't have that, so why don't we put that off until the
Next time,
meeting.
okay.
And I would just say, let's just wait until next meeting and then put it on the agenda.
And then we also, all right. Then we also had bank resolution for the endowment.
We didn't hear about that at finance, but I suspect it's time to do a new bank resolution.
So I'm assuming that'll come up during the next one as well. Then.
Yeah, well, you'll have something
We'll
to find.
find out
Fine,
on Thursday what's going on with that. And we are, along those lines, we are going to be meeting with the managers of, the 3 managers of the EAMS fund, investment managers, over the next few weeks.
Okay, great. So that's all that was. Is there anything else under new business? Okay.
If there's no other business, Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Right.
What about our committee things?
Oh,
That would
so-
happen outside of the regular meeting.
Yeah, we're going to close this meeting and then we're going to do some quick committee meetings, so nobody leave. We're going to do some quick committee meetings just to establish chairs, essentially. So each one of the committees will meet for 3 to 5 minutes or something, whatever it takes to make that happen.
Not to be super picky, but do those have to be warned? Do those meetings have to be warned?
Well, I guess I thought you were just gonna,
Or can we do that just?
Well, it says new committees on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, we should do it before we close this meeting, let's just do it this way. That way we're cleared, I was hoping it would get warned, but we'll do it part of the regular meeting.
Yeah,
So why
our
don't we-
intent was to warn all.
Yeah, the intent was to warn all of them, and it just didn't happen that way. So, good catch, thank you.
Yes, I mean, we can make the assignments to the committees, but appointing chairs of the committee would have to be at a warned meeting of the committees, I think, unless we can do it.
Well, we can do it in the general open meeting, as part of the committee, so we'll just do it that way. So why don't we just go through the list that Barb sent out to everybody, and we'll just start at the top and work our way down. So finance committee meeting is currently Ruth, Mike, Bob, and Sean, with Bob as chair. Does everybody want to stay on finance that's on finance? Does anybody want to go on to finance desperately, or anything like that to add to finance? Not seeing that happening, okay. So,
I nominate Mr. Woodworth to be chair.
Second.
Second.
moved and seconded.
Oh,
All right.
Do that here, okay.
That's done.
Yeah.
Oh,
All,
we might just as well.
we'll all vote. All in favor of Bob as chair of finance?
Aye.
All right, so that stays this. All right, moving over to TCC is currently Ruth, myself, Russ, Sean, and Ian is serving as chair. Is everybody comfortable with their assignments there? And anybody want to join TCC that's not on TCC? Okay. So we just need to select a chairperson. Sean?
I did get a notice, the email from Lori. And
Yes.
she said that she was only on one committee, which sounded like she wasn't privy to prior to the
Yeah.
list going out. So she said, anybody, but I think TCC is already.
It's already-
pretty
It's pretty,
full.
pretty stacked.
Yeah.
But there's some places we can add Lori's name in,
Okay.
and we will.
Okay.
All right. So is there any nominations for chair of TCC?
I nominate Mr. Torrey.
Second.
I second it.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor as Ian is chair of TCC?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right. Then we have an ad hoc finance for building and grounds, which is currently Ruth and Bob. My first question I have is, does that still need to meet? Or is that just everything's handled in part of finance?
That's ad hoc, I don't think we've had any, we've kind of done it within
Within
finance
finance.
in terms of tours of the building
Okay.
and so forth.
Yeah, I don't know if it needs to be a separate, I didn't know it was a separate group till I got this paper, but
Well, it was established for the project
Right.
for a while.
oh, that,
yeah,
but
and
that.
just if you think about some of the work that you've considered as a finance committee,
Right.
it doesn't seem like there needs to be an ad hoc.
No.
Right.
Yeah, and the finance committee is actually finance, building, and transportation, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can get rid of it.
Oh, so
I'm gonna fire us?
Well,
we'll
not necessarily.
eliminate that.
Yeah.
But, and when we do deal with like the Tinney Field and the stadium,
Yeah.
we could create a committee.
Well, we can still do the work, but we won't have the
We'll have a
esteemed
title.
position. Okay.
You could create a
Okay.
sub-subcommittee.
That's right. All right, so planning and policy,
Does the elimination of that committee require a motion, or is that?
I don't know how it
You
was.
can accept these all together.
Yeah, we can do it all together. All right. So planning and policy is currently Lori, myself, Ann, and Ian is serving as chair. Does anybody else want to join us? She was, when Pat left, Ann just stepped into all the places that Pat was and just never got added in.
So it's,
Ann.
Okay.
Yeah. So does anybody else want to get on planning and policy that is not on planning and policy? All right. Is there a motion for chair for planning and policy?
I move Ian be the chair.
All right.
I'll second
Moved and
that.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving over to BAMS. BAMS committee is currently Mike, myself, Russ as an alternate, and Sean. And Sean, you're chair.
Yeah.
It's not listed on this form, but
Yeah.
you have been chair.
Yeah.
So, does anybody want to join the BAMS committee from either Vernon, Guilford, or Brattleboro. Sorry, Ann.
Would that be a place to add Lori, or?
We could add Lori.
I know in the past, she had been on finance and wasn't able to, the timing of the meetings wasn't.
This is similar.
These are morning meetings too.
It is similar, but we don't have as regular meetings either, so.
Yeah, it's not twice a month or anything like that.
No, and maybe,
And maybe things have changed, I don't
Yeah.
know, I just remember that was an issue
Yeah,
with
it
her
was.
for finance.
but if she was on it, then it'd probably be good, and then she could make it if she.
Okay, great. So we'll add Lori to that, so it'll be Mike, myself, Russ as an alternate, Sean and Lori. And Sean is chair. Is there a motion for a chairperson?
I'll nominate Sean.
Nominate Sean, and I'll second that. So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. WRCC advisory, and that's currently Ruth, Bob, and Ann. Maybe that'd be a place we could also add Lori. How's that feel to everybody?
It's fine,
Okay.
fine with me, fine with you.
It's
All right.
fine with me,
And
and there
who-
again, she's gonna have a.
And it's not
problem with
listed,
time,
but who's chair, or who has been chair of the WRCC?
Wait, it's secret.
It's a secret.
We
Well,
really,
we're gonna nominate him tomorrow, right?
what's
Or
that?
you've already been nominated this year?
As chair?
Yeah,
No, nobody's nominated anybody. We really have kind of,
it's gonna happen tomorrow.
Rad,
Yeah,
tomorrow you're gonna do
yeah,
that.
that's what this RAD is.
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the WRCC committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think our representatives to the RAB and the and our board's WRCC committee have sort of functioned as the same unit.
Yeah. probably.
We're
So-
the same people, we do different
That
things,
coming up
but we're
tomorrow?
the same people.
Yeah.
Or has that already happened?
That hasn't happened, no.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's likely that Bob will be selected as chair. I
Of the
can't
RAB
state
tomorrow.
that yet.
In
Okay.
absentia
All right.
tomorrow.
So does anybody, well, let me back up then. Does anybody want to get on the WRCC who's not there? So it's Ruth, Bob, Ann, and Lori.
It is a nice luncheon.
Well, I understand
anyone can-
anybody can come to the lunch. All right, so we got a WRCC committee. And then under negotiations, Bob has been serving as our certified for the certified staff. And I've been handling the classified staff. Does anybody want to do either one of those things?
You only have one each.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
serving on the committee. No?
I would just like to say to Bob that there seems to be a trend for public negotiations, as you've seen in emails
Yeah.
recently. And because of public funds, and we'd like to have an air of transparency. Do you think?
Well, there's a whole lot up in the air because it'll be the whole state will be doing it. And it's really, at this point, that we have very little information as to
Right,
how that's gonna all play out.
right.
Well, you'll keep us posted.
Yes.
But will you buck for public negotiations?
I don't know what the format will be for voting for that. And I honestly don't know how I feel about that right now.
One of the many ideas that have just been thrown out there, but it might be unduly cumbersome.
Well, yeah, I don't know enough about all the tales attached to it.
I have been on negotiations before, and the board hands are somewhat tied in private negotiations. The teachers have a lot more leeway with regard to public statements and things of that nature. So it's pretty difficult trying to get a level playing field, I think. But that's for another day.
I've never experienced the open one, so,
Well, neither have I.
yeah.
Who knows?
Well, I move that Mr. Woodworth be the certified negotiator and Mr. Davidson be the classified negotiator, as in the past.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And under representatives for WSCSU boards and committees, we've already handled the voting members earlier. Finance, compensation, evaluation and goals, it's been Russ with Bob as an alternate. Does anybody want to take that over from them? Is everybody good with that? Okay, all right.
Tomorrow, John.
Yeah, and then special needs, special education should be as needed is what I meant to say. So we don't have anybody there, and then the Act 46 Study Committee is currently myself and Ian. Does anybody, and at this point, because of the way that's written, we can't really change that. It's just the way
It's a
it
life
is.
sentence.
It's Hotel California. Check in, but you can't check out. All right, so I'll do one last nomination, one last thing. All in favor of everything that we just discussed related to committees and assignments?
All right.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Excellent, all right.
That includes getting rid of the ad hoc.
Including getting rid of the ad hoc finance, building and grounds, yeah, we're all good. All right,
So now we do have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
yes, we need a seconded for that notion.
I second it.
Okay, so moved and seconded, all in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
We stand adjourned, thank you all very much.